Emily Chen thought she knew her husband. 15 years of marriage, 2 beautiful kids, a comfortable life in suburban Connecticut. But on Halloween night 2023, a gift box arrived at her doorstep, wrapped in black velvet, tied with a blood-red ribbon, and addressed to her in handwriting she'd never seen before. Inside wasn't candy. It wasn't a prank. It was a severed human hand, still warm to the touch, with a wedding ring identical to hers, and a note that read, "He promised me forever too." What Emily discovered next didn't just destroy her marriage. It unraveled a twisted tale of obsession, revenge, and a love so dark it crossed the boundary between life and death. And the hand? That was just the beginning. Before we go further, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment telling us your favorite mystery or horror topic. Your suggestion might be our next deep investigation. The doorbell rang at exactly 8:47 p.m. Emily Chen remembers the time because she'd just finished putting the kids to bed, and Michael was supposed to be home by 9 from his business dinner. The same excuse he'd been using every Thursday for the past 4 months. She opened the door expecting trick-or-treaters, maybe some teenagers pulling a late-night candy run. Instead, there was nothing. Just the October wind rattling the dried leaves across her porch and a single black box sitting on her welcome mat. No delivery truck, no footsteps, no one. The box was about the size of a shoebox, wrapped in black velvet that felt expensive, almost luxurious under her fingertips. A blood-red ribbon held it together, tied in a perfect bow. Her name, Emily Chen, was written on a small card in elegant cursive. Not printed, handwritten. Something felt wrong. That primal instinct that lives in your gut, the one that kept our ancestors alive. It was screaming at her to leave the box alone, to call someone, to do anything except open it. But curiosity is a powerful thing, especially when you're a woman who's been noticing lipstick stains on collars, unexplained charges on credit cards, and a husband who suddenly started working late every single week. Emily brought the box inside. She locked the door. She sat down at her kitchen table under the bright fluorescent lights that suddenly felt too harsh, too clinical. Her hands shook as she untied the ribbon. The velvet fell away easily. Inside was tissue paper, black as midnight, crinkled and carefully arranged. She peeled back the first layer, then the second, and then she saw it. A hand. A human hand, severed cleanly at the wrist. Emily's scream caught in her throat, came out as a strangled gasp. She stumbled backward, her chair clattering to the floor. The box tumbled off the table, and the hand rolled out onto her kitchen tiles with a soft, wet sound that would haunt her dreams for years. It was a woman's hand, slender fingers, manicured nails painted deep burgundy, and on the ring finger, a wedding band identical to the one Emily wore. Emily couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Her vision tunneled, and for a moment she thought she might pass out right there on her kitchen floor, next to a severed hand and her children sleeping upstairs, blissfully unaware that their mother's world had just shattered into a million pieces. But then she saw the note. It had fallen from the box too, a small cream-colored card now lying face up near the hand. The same elegant handwriting. 5 words that changed everything. He promised me forever too. That's when Emily's shock transformed into something else, something colder. Because those words meant this wasn't random. This wasn't a prank. This was personal. This was about Michael. Her hands were still shaking when she dialed 911, but her voice came out steady, detached, like she was reporting someone else's nightmare. The operator kept asking if she was safe, if she was alone, if the perpetrator was still in the house. Emily answered mechanically while staring at that hand, at that ring, at the evidence of a life she never knew existed. The police arrived in 7 minutes. 3 squad cars, lights flashing, waking up the entire neighborhood. Detective Marcus Rivera was the first through her door, a 20-year veteran with gray temples and eyes that had seen too much. He took one look at the hand on Emily's kitchen floor and immediately called for backup in the forensics unit. "Mrs. Chen, I need you to step outside," he said gently but firmly. "This is a crime scene now." Emily let herself be guided out to her living room, where a female officer sat with her, offered her water, asked her questions she barely heard. Through the kitchen doorway, she watched as more investigators arrived, as cameras flashed, as that hand was carefully photographed from every angle and sealed in an evidence bag. Detective Rivera came back 40 minutes later. He sat down across from her, his expression grave. "Mrs. Chen, that hand is real. It's fresh, less than 24 hours old. We're running fingerprints now, but I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. Where is your husband?" Emily's throat went dry. "He's at a business dinner. He should be home any minute." "What time did he leave?" "Around 6. He said it was with clients from Boston. He's been having a lot of late meetings lately." The words tasted bitter coming out. All those Thursday nights. All those excuses. Detective Rivera exchanged a glance with his partner. "We're going to need his phone number, his office address, and the name of the restaurant where he said he'd be." They called Michael's cell. It went straight to voicemail. They called his office. No answer. They called the restaurant he'd mentioned, a steakhouse downtown. The hostess checked their reservation list twice. No Michael Chen. No reservation at all. By midnight, Emily was numb. The kids were still asleep, thank God, unaware that police were processing their kitchen like a murder scene. Michael still hadn't come home, wasn't answering his phone, and Detective Rivera's expression had shifted from concerned to suspicious. "Mrs. Chen, the fingerprints came back," he said, returning from a hushed conversation with the forensic team. "The hand belongs to Elena Vasquez, a 32-year-old art gallery manager from Manhattan. She was reported missing 6 months ago by her sister. The case went cold after 2 weeks." Elena Vasquez. The name meant nothing to Emily, or it shouldn't have. But something clicked in her memory. A receipt she'd found in Michael's jacket pocket 3 months ago, a gallery opening in Soho. He'd said it was for a client. "Detective," Emily heard herself say, her voice hollow. "I think my husband knew her." Rivera leaned forward. "What makes you say that?" "Because 6 months ago he started changing. Coming home late, being secretive with his phone, and he went to an art gallery in Manhattan. Said it was for work, but now," she gestured helplessly toward her kitchen, "now someone sent me a woman's severed hand with a note saying my husband promised her forever." The detective's jaw tightened. "Mrs. Chen, I think we need to find your husband. Right now." They found Michael at 3:17 a.m. in a motel off Interstate 95, 40 miles outside of Connecticut. He wasn't running. He wasn't hiding. He was just sitting on the edge of a bed in room 214, staring at his hands like he didn't recognize them anymore. Detective Rivera told Emily later that Michael didn't resist, didn't ask for a lawyer, didn't say anything except, "Is she okay? Is Emily okay?" Even then, even after everything, he was still pretending to be the concerned husband. The interrogation room was cold and sterile, all concrete walls and fluorescent lights that made Michael's skin look gray. Emily watched through the one-way glass, her arms wrapped around herself, feeling like she was observing a stranger. This man who'd held her on their wedding day, who'd been in the delivery room when both their children were born, who'd kissed her goodbye that morning like it was just another ordinary Thursday. "Tell me about Elena Vasquez," Detective Rivera said, sliding a photograph across the table. Michael's face crumbled, not with grief, with fear. Pure, animal fear. "It was a mistake," he whispered. "All of it was a mistake." "A mistake?" Rivera's voice was hard. "A woman is dead, Michael. Her hand was delivered to your wife on Halloween night. That's not a mistake. That's a nightmare." And then Michael started talking. And Emily, standing behind that glass, felt her entire 15-year marriage dissolve with every word. It started 18 months ago at an art gallery opening in Manhattan. Elena was the assistant manager, brilliant and beautiful, with dark eyes that seemed to see right through Michael's suburban facade. He told himself it was just conversation, just networking, just an innocent coffee the next week to discuss a potential art piece for his office. But coffee became lunch. Lunch became dinner. Dinner became a hotel room in the city and a lie to Emily about working late. I tried to end it, Michael said, his voice breaking. God, I tried so many times. But Elena wouldn't let go. And the terrible truth, the one that made Emily's stomach turn as she listened, was that part of Michael hadn't wanted to let go either. Elena became obsessed. Started showing up at his office unannounced, sent him dozens of texts every day, created fake social media accounts to watch Emily and the kids. She convinced herself that Michael was going to leave his family, that they had a future together, that their love was destined. She said we were soulmates, Michael told the detective, his voice hollow. She had this whole fantasy built up in her head. A house in the countryside, kids of our own. She even picked out baby names. 6 months ago, everything exploded. Elena showed up at Michael's office with an ultimatum. Tell Emily everything by the end of the week or she would. She had photos, text messages, hotel receipts, evidence of everything. She was going to destroy his life if he didn't choose her. Michael panicked. He told Elena he needed time to think, asked her to meet him one more time to talk things through. She agreed, thinking he was finally going to leave Emily for her. They met at an abandoned warehouse in Brooklyn that Elena's gallery used for storage. Michael said he just wanted to scare her, to make her understand that she needed to back off. But when he got there, Elena wasn't scared. She was radiant. She'd brought champagne. She thought he was there to celebrate their new life together. She kept saying, "I knew you'd choose me," Michael said, tears streaming down his face. And something in me just snapped. The fight was brutal. Michael's hands around her throat, Elena's nails clawing at his face, drawing blood, the champagne bottle shattering, and then silence. Terrible, suffocating silence. "I didn't mean to kill her," Michael sobbed. "I swear I didn't mean to." But she wouldn't stop. She wouldn't listen. She was going to ruin everything. Detective Rivera leaned back in his chair, his expression unreadable. "So what did you do with the body, Michael?" "I buried her, in the woods upstate, near a hiking trail nobody uses anymore." Behind the glass, Emily pressed her hand to her mouth, fighting the urge to vomit. But Detective Rivera wasn't satisfied. He slid another photograph across the table, a surveillance image from a highway rest stop, dated 2 days ago. "Then who the hell cut off her hand and delivered it to your wife?" Michael stared at the photo, his face going white. I don't know. That's impossible. Nobody knew where I buried her. Nobody. Except someone did know. Someone had known all along. Carmen Vasquez walked into the police station at dawn, wearing a black dress and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Elena's identical twin sister, the woman who'd spent 6 months tracking her sister's killer, gathering evidence, planning her revenge. "He took my sister from me," Carmen said calmly, sitting across from Detective Rivera like they were having tea instead of discussing murder and mutilation. "Elena and I were twins. We shared everything. When she disappeared, I felt it. I knew she was dead. I knew he'd killed her." Carmen had followed Michael for months, hacked his phone, tracked his movements, and when she finally discovered where he'd buried Elena, through a combination of GPS data and sheer determination, she'd gone there in the middle of the night and retrieved her sister's body. "I wanted him to suffer," Carmen said, her voice never wavering. "I wanted his wife to know what kind of monster she was married to, so I gave her a Halloween gift she'd never forget." The hand had been Carmen's opening move, a psychological attack designed to destroy Michael's perfect life, the same way he'd destroyed Elena's. She'd been planning to send more. Emily would have received a new piece of her sister every week until Michael confessed or went insane, whichever came first. But Emily had called the police immediately, and Michael had cracked under questioning faster than Carmen had anticipated. Detective Rivera arrested Carmen for mutilation of a corpse, tampering with evidence, and psychological terrorization. Michael was charged with second-degree murder. Both would spend years in prison. And Emily? Emily went home to her sleeping children, packed up 15 years of marriage into boxes, and tried to figure out how to explain to 2 innocent kids why their father was never coming home again. The Halloween gift box sat in a police evidence locker, wrapped in black velvet, tied with a blood-red ribbon, a testament to how love, when twisted by obsession and revenge, can become the most terrifying thing of all. The story of Emily Chen and the Halloween gift box became national news for 3 weeks, before fading into the background noise of endless tragedies and scandals. But for Emily, there was no fading. There was only the brutal reality of rebuilding a life from the ashes of lies. Michael Chen pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and received 25 years to life. Carmen Vasquez took a plea deal, 8 years for desecration of human remains and psychological terrorization. The judge called her actions a disturbing manifestation of grief-turned-vengeance, but some online communities hailed her as a hero, a woman who delivered justice when the system had failed her sister. Elena Vasquez was finally laid to rest, whole again in a cemetery in Queens, with only Carmen and a handful of friends present. The art gallery where she'd worked held a small memorial. Her paintings were displayed one final time. She'd been talented, vibrant, full of dreams that Michael Chen had strangled in a Brooklyn warehouse. Emily sold the house in Connecticut. Too many memories, too many ghosts. She moved with her children to a different state, changed their last name, and started therapy. All 3 of them. The kids asked questions she didn't know how to answer. How do you explain to a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old that their father is a murderer? That the man who read them bedtime stories and coached their soccer games had taken someone's life? She tried. She failed. She tried again. That's all any of us can do. On Halloween night, 1 year after that black velvet box arrived, Emily doesn't decorate, doesn't hand out candy, doesn't celebrate. She sits with her children, watches cartoons, and pretends that October 31st is just another day, but she still locks her doors twice, still checks the porch before turning off the lights, still feels her heart race when the doorbell rings unexpectedly, because some gifts can never be returned, some horrors never fully leave you, and some Halloween nights become permanent scars on your soul. The human capacity for darkness is limitless. We wear masks every day. Not just on Halloween, pretending to be good spouses, good parents, good people, while hiding secrets that would destroy the ones we claim to love. Michael Chen wore his mask for 18 months. Carmen Vasquez wore hers for 6. And Emily? She's learning to live without one. To face the world with the raw honesty of someone who's seen the worst humanity has to offer and survived. 3 lives destroyed. 1 marriage shattered. 2 children traumatized. All because of secrets, obsession, and the dangerous illusion that we can control love like it's something we own instead of something that owns us. The black velvet box sits in an evidence warehouse somewhere in Connecticut, tagged and cataloged, a piece of physical evidence in a case that's now closed. But the real evidence, the psychological scars, the trust that can never be rebuilt, the innocence that can never be recovered, that evidence will last a lifetime. So here's what I want you to think about tonight, especially if you're watching this with the lights off on Halloween, or any night when the darkness feels a little too close. How well do you really know the people in your life? Not the version they show you, not the carefully curated persona they present to the world, but the real them. The secrets they keep, the lies they tell themselves, the darkness they're capable of when pushed to the edge. Emily thought she knew Michael. 15 years of marriage, 2 children, a lifetime of memories, and it was all built on a foundation of lies that crumbled in a single Halloween night. We want to believe that monsters announce themselves, that evil comes with warning signs and red flags we can't miss. But the truth is more terrifying. Monsters look like us. They sit across from us at breakfast. They kiss us goodnight. They promise forever while planning betrayal. This story isn't just about a severed hand in a box. It's about the horror of discovery. The moment when everything you believed shatters and you're left standing in the wreckage, asking yourself how you missed all the signs. If this story stayed with you, if it made you uncomfortable, made you think, made you feel something, then hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. We dive into the darkest corners of human nature, the stories that keep you up at night, the mysteries that refuse to be solved easily. And drop a comment below telling us what topic you want us to cover next. True crime, paranormal mysteries, psychological thrillers, urban legends. Your suggestion might become our next investigation. We read every single comment, and your voice matters here. Share this video with someone who loves dark, twisted stories. Someone who appreciates the truth that horror isn't always supernatural. Sometimes it's just human. And remember, lock your doors tonight. Check your porch before you go to sleep, because you never know what gift might be waiting for you in the darkness. Thanks for watching. Stay curious, stay safe, and maybe keep the lights on tonight. We'll see you in the next one.